Hazrat Khadija bin Khuwailid holds a unique and cherished position in the life of Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, due to her deep faith, unwavering support, and significant contributions to the early days of Islam. She was the first wife of Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, and the first person to accept Islam after he received the first revelation. Khadija was a woman of great intellect, wealth, and stature in the Quraysh tribe, and she was highly respected in Mecca for her character and business acumen. Despite her high social standing, she chose to marry Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, a man who at the time was not yet known as a prophet and came from a humble background. This decision was driven by her admiration for his honesty, integrity, and trustworthy nature, which led her to propose marriage to him. Khadija's special bond with the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, was rooted in her absolute loyalty and devotion to him. During the early years of Muhammad's, PBUH, prophethood, when he faced immense challenges, ridicule, and persecution, Khadija was a steadfast pillar of support. She provided him with comfort, encouragement, and material assistance. Her belief in him never wavered, and when the first revelation came to the prophet, it was Khadija who reassured him and believed in his divine mission when he was initially overcome with fear and confusion. She took him to her Christian cousin, Waraka bin Nawfal, to confirm the authenticity of the message. Her contributions to the cause of Islam were immeasurable. As a wealthy and influential woman, she used her resources to support the Prophet and the early Muslim community. Khadija's wealth and social status enabled the Prophet to continue his mission without being overwhelmed by financial concerns. She was also a source of emotional strength for the Prophet, especially when he faced rejection and hostility from the Quraysh tribe. The hardships the early Muslims endured during the social boycott were particularly challenging, but Khadija remained a source of unwavering support, providing for the family's needs even during difficult times. Her role in nurturing the Prophet's family was also notable. She bore him children, and their marriage was characterized by mutual respect and love. Even after her passing, the Prophet, PBUH, would often speak of her with great fondness, remembering her as the best of women. Her legacy is remembered as one of the greatest female figures in Islamic history. The Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, often recalled her support, referring to her as the mother of the believers because of the strength of her faith, character, and her pivotal role in the birth of Islam. Hazrat Khadija's death was a profound loss for the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, as it marked the end of a significant chapter in his life. She passed away in the year 619 CE, which was also the year of the Prophet's year of sorrow, as he lost not only his beloved wife, but also his uncle Abu Talib, who had been another pillar of support. However, her memory lived on, as the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, cherished her legacy throughout his life. Hazrat Khadija's life and her devotion to the Prophet stand as an embodiment of love, faith, and sacrifice, making her an eternally special figure in the history of Islam. The impact of Hazrat Khadija on Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, continued to resonate long after her death. Despite the years that passed, the Prophet would often recall her with great affection. On several occasions, he expressed a profound love for her and praised her qualities. He would remember how she was the first to believe in his message when no one else would, how she gave him the strength to continue when he faced hardship, and how she was always there for him in times of need. The love and respect the Prophet had for her were so deep that he never married another woman during her lifetime, and even after her death, he would continue to speak of her fondly. Her legacy also had a profound effect on the Muslim community. Khadija's unwavering faith in the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, and in Islam made her an example of piety, loyalty, and commitment to the cause of truth. She showed how one could use their resources and position in society to support and uplift the message of Islam, and how a person could endure hardships with patience and perseverance for the sake of their faith. Her character inspired many Muslims, both men and women, to emulate her qualities of generosity, strength, and conviction in belief. Furthermore, the support Hazrat Khadija provided to the Prophet during the early years of Islam, especially in times of adversity, highlighted her role as a strong and capable leader. Her wisdom, compassion, and understanding allowed her to guide not only the Prophet, but also others in the early Muslim community. Even in the face of personal loss, she remained a beacon of guidance and care. She was the first to help Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, when the revelations came, demonstrating her role not only as a wife, but as a partner in the spiritual journey of the Prophet. Prophet Muhammad's PBUH. Fond memories of her were also evident in the way he honored her after her death. He maintained close relationships with her family, and after Khadija passed away, the Prophet would often visit her grave and remember her kindness. He expressed deep sorrow at her loss, and once mentioned that Allah had not replaced her with anyone like her. This statement reflected the unique and irreplaceable role she played in his life. Her role as a mother and caregiver is another aspect that made Hazrat Khadija so special. She was a loving mother to their children, most notably Fatima R.A., who would grow up to become one of the most revered women in Islam. Fatima, being the daughter of such a strong and devoted woman, inherited many of her mother's qualities, including her strength of character, compassion, and piety. Hazrat Khadija's influence on her children, particularly on Fatima, played a significant part in shaping the future of the Muslim Ummah. In addition, Hazrat Khadija's status as the first among the mothers of believers holds a special place in Islamic tradition. Her status was unique in that she not only helped lay the foundation of Islam with her faith and support, but also demonstrated the highest levels of faith and commitment. She became a role model not just for women, but for all Muslims in terms of devotion to God, support for the Prophet, and sacrifice for a higher purpose. Her contributions went beyond the immediate support she gave to the Prophet. Her enduring impact in the early years of Islam established her as an essential and indispensable figure in the history of Islam. Even today, she remains a symbol of the ideal partner, faithful believer, and supportive figure in the journey of faith. Hazrat Khadija's life exemplifies the power of a woman's faith, character, and leadership, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire generations of Muslims. Her special relationship with Prophet Muhammad PBUH is one of the most profound examples of love, faith, and loyalty in Islamic history. The influence of Hazrat Khadija R.A. continues to echo through the centuries, and her legacy remains deeply embedded in Islamic history, revered by Muslims worldwide. Her devotion to Prophet Muhammad PBUH transcended the role of a wife. She was an unwavering source of strength, both emotionally and spiritually. Her unshakable faith not only sustained the Prophet during the most challenging times, but also played a significant role in fortifying the early Muslim community's belief. She was in many encouragement or unwavering belief. Hazrat Khadija's contributions to Islam are an enduring testament to the powerful impact one individual can have on the course of history. Even after her passing, Hazrat Khadija R.A. remains an irreplaceable figure in the hearts of Muslims, especially the Prophet Muhammad PBUH, who continued to honor her memory for the rest of his life. He would often speak of her with reverence, and her legacy continued to live on to the family she helped build, particularly through her daughter Fatima R.A., who became a central figure in Islam in her own right. The example set by Hazrat Khadija R.A. also serves as a call to action for Muslims today. It encourages them to embody the qualities of sincerity, faith, and sacrifice in their daily lives. In a world that often faces uncertainty and challenges, Khadija's unwavering belief in the Prophet Muhammad PBUH and her dedication to Islam serve as a model for those seeking to contribute to the betterment of society and the advancement of truth. In conclusion, the life of Hazrat Khadija R.A. is an extraordinary example of devotion, sacrifice, and love for Allah and His Messenger. Her legacy continues to inspire Muslims to uphold the values of loyalty, integrity, and selflessness. Her unparalleled support of the Prophet Muhammad PBUH during the most difficult and crucial years of his mission has earned her an eternal place in the annals of Islamic history. Hazrat Khadija's life is a shining reminder that true strength lies in faith, and that love for Prophet Muhammad PBUH can drive one to make the greatest sacrifices for the sake of Allah's cause. The legacy of Hazrat Khadija R.A. is truly timeless. Her character and actions set a benchmark for how true believers should live their lives, devoted to Allah, steadfast in the face of adversity, and dedicated to supporting the truth. Her contributions to Islam and to the Prophet Muhammad PBUH are unparalleled, and as time goes on, her example continues to resonate deeply with Muslims of all generations. Beyond her material and emotional support, Hazrat Khadija's wisdom and discernment were also crucial in guiding the early years of Islam. She not only provided the Prophet Muhammad PBUH with practical support, but also helped him spiritually and mentally. When the Prophet PBUH received the first revelation from Angel Jibril Gabriel. It was Hazrat Khadija, R.A., who immediately assured him, providing comfort and understanding. She was the first to affirm his prophethood, helping him understand the weight of the responsibility and reassuring him with words of confidence. This early response to the Prophet's experience became a vital moment in the history of Islam, where her belief in the divine mission encouraged and strengthened the Prophet during a time of great uncertainty. Her ability to balance being a supportive spouse with being an astute and influential businesswoman in Mecca also set her apart. In a male-dominated society, where women often had limited public roles, Khadija, R.A., was a rare exception. She had built an empire of her own, managing her wealth and business with great acumen. And yet she did so with a heart that remained humble and devoted to supporting the Prophet and the cause of Islam. Her wealth did not make her proud or arrogant. Instead, she used her resources to empower others, particularly her husband and the early Muslim community, who faced severe opposition and hardships. Her philanthropy, particularly in her dedication to helping those in need, is another testament to her character. Hazrat Khadija's wealth, gained through hard work and enterprise, was not hoarded for her own benefit. Instead, she used it to support the early Muslims who were marginalized and persecuted. She sacrificed much of her wealth to support the Prophet's mission and contribute to the growing Muslim community, especially during the harsh economic boycott imposed on the Muslims by the Quraysh. These acts of generosity were not only material but also personal. She showed profound compassion toward those who were suffering and worked tirelessly to improve their situation. Another aspect of her legacy that remains inspiring is her role as a mother. Hazrat Khadija, R.A., played a key role in raising children who would become influential figures in Islam. Her daughter Fatima, R.A., is perhaps the most prominent of these children, growing up to be one of the most revered women in Islamic history. Fatima's piety, devotion to the Prophet, and resilience reflect the nurturing environment she was raised in by her mother. The upbringing of Fatima, R.A., alongside her brothers, is a reflection of Hazrat Khadija's ability to be both a loving mother and a wise, spiritually grounded role model. Through her children, Hazrat Khadija, R.A., ensured that her values and love for Islam would continue through generations, shaping the future of the Muslim Ummah. The Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, would often speak of her qualities, and his unwavering love for her was a clear testament to the lasting impact she had on his life. After her death, the Prophet, PBUH, never forgot her kindness, her sacrifices, and her loyalty. His love for her was so great that, even years later, he would remember her with fondness and speak of her with reverence. He would sometimes be seen offering prayers for her, asking Allah to grant her peace in the afterlife. This continued affection toward her, even after her passing, demonstrates a profound bond they shared and the immense respect and admiration the Prophet had for her. Hazrat Khadija's role as the first mother of the believers is a title that she earned due to her unique place in the history of Islam. She was not just the first to believe in the Prophet, PBUH, but also the first to offer her unwavering support, comfort, and love. Her legacy is also one that transcends her role as a wife and mother. She is a symbol of dedication, courage, and sacrifice for the greater good of the faith. In Islam, her life is celebrated not just for her closeness to the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, but for her extraordinary character and the example she set for all believers. The qualities she embodied, faith, compassion, integrity, generosity, and resilience, are qualities that Muslims strive to embody. Her story serves as a reminder that one does not have to possess great power or fame to make a monumental impact on the world. Rather, it is through deep faith and sincere actions that a person can change the course of history. The profound respect that Hazrat Khadija, R.A., earned during her lifetime has only deepened with time, and she continues to serve as an inspiration for Muslims around the world. Her life exemplifies the essential role that women have played and continue to play in the preservation and advancement of faith. Hazrat Khadija, R.A., demonstrated that women, when empowered by faith, can lead with dignity and contribute significantly to the development of society and religion. In sum, Hazrat Khadija, R.A., is not only revered for the role she played in the life of Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, but also for the lessons she imparted to the Muslim Ummah. Her life continues to guide believers on how to live with purpose, how to support one another in faith, and how to use one's resources and talents for the service of Allah and humanity. Her legacy remains a timeless and ever-relevant source of inspiration. Ways, a foundational pillar for the survival of Islam in its formative years, long before it became a global religion. Her courage in accepting Islam at a time when it was not only controversial but also dangerous for anyone to follow the Prophet was extraordinary. Khadija R.A. was among the first to understand and embrace the truth of the message revealed to Muhammad PBUH, even when others mocked and rejected him. Her faith in him, even when faced with societal pressure, persecution, and ridicule, proved to be an unwavering testament to her character. She stood by him through thick and thin, showing that the strength of faith could overcome even the most difficult trials. Even in the face of the social boycott that the Muslims suffered in the valley of Abu Talib, Khadija's resilience and resolve were remarkable. Despite the immense pressure, her resolve never wavered, and she continued to support the Prophet and the early Muslim community with her wealth, influence, and presence. Her generosity and the resources she contributed helped sustain the Muslims during a time of severe economic and social hardship, further underscoring her role as a key figure in supporting the message of Islam. Her impact was also seen in how she raised her children, particularly their daughter Fatima R.A. Fatima would go on to become one of the most revered women in Islam, a role model of piety, devotion, and strength of character. The Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, himself held Fatima in great esteem, and her status as the mother of the believers reflects how deeply the influence of Hazrat Khadija extended beyond her own lifetime. Fatima's character mirrored her mother's in many ways, and her devotion to Islam can be attributed, in part, to the nurturing environment her mother provided. The Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, also never forgot the sacrifices Hazrat Khadija made for Islam. In his later years, whenever her name was mentioned, his face would light up with affection, and he would recall her extraordinary qualities. On one occasion, when Aisha R.A. spoke of Khadija, the Prophet PBUH responded with deep love and respect, saying, "She believed in me when no one else did. She accepted Islam when people rejected me, and she helped and comforted me when there was no one else to support me." The Prophet's continuous praise of Khadija and his love for her are clear markers of the special bond they shared, which transcended the physical world and reached the heights of spiritual significance. In addition to being the first to embrace Islam, Khadija's character was exemplified by her remarkable sense of empathy, dignity, and moral integrity. She never sought the limelight for herself, but instead always prioritized the well-being of the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, and the cause of Islam. Her moral compass was centered on righteousness and justice, and her actions consistently reflected her deep connection to the teachings of Islam, even before it was widely recognized. Her example shows how one's devotion to Allah can take many forms, not just through public acts of worship, but also through private acts of compassion and support for others, especially in times of hardship. Hazrat Khadija's spiritual legacy continues to guide the Muslim Ummah. She is not just a figure of the past, but a timeless example of faith, devotion, sacrifice, and love. She was among the first to see the divinity in Prophet Muhammad's PBUH mission, and her loyalty and sacrifice provided him with the support needed to fulfill his prophetic duties. Her strength and faith laid a foundation for the success of Islam, and her influence is felt even today in the way Muslims strive to support and stand by the truth, regardless of the challenges they may face. In Islam, Hazrat Khadija is celebrated as one of the 4 greatest women who ever lived, alongside Mary, Asiya, the wife of Pharaoh, and Fatima R.A., the daughter of Prophet Muhammad PBUH. This recognition underscores her unparalleled status in the Islamic world and highlights the immense value of her contributions to Islam. The Prophet Muhammad PBUH declared her to be the best of women of her time, and this remains an enduring truth in Islamic thought. Ultimately, Hazrat Khadija's life is a profound lesson in the power of love, faith, and resilience. Her relationship with Prophet Muhammad PBUH serves as an example of how mutual respect, support, and unwavering belief in a divine cause can foster an unbreakable bond, one that transcends the trials of life and death. In honoring her, we are reminded of the profound role that love and faith can play in shaping not only individuals but the course of history itself. Hazrat Khadija's role in the history of Islam is one that continues to be celebrated for its profound impact on the early stages of faith. While her contributions during her lifetime were significant, her influence endures beyond her death. The way of the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, remembered her and honored her legacy throughout his life shows how irreplaceable she was to him. It is narrated in various hadiths that the Prophet, PBUH, would continue to speak of her long after her passing, often recalling her qualities, her unwavering faith, and the immense support she had provided him. The Prophet, PBUH, would often express gratitude toward her, saying that she was the one who believed in him when no one else did, and she was the one who helped and supported him in ways that no one else could. Her death was a devastating blow to the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, and it came at a time of immense hardship. The loss of Khadija marked a turning point in the life of the Prophet. It occurred in the same year as the death of his uncle, Abu Talib, who had also been a strong supporter of the Prophet and a protector against the opposition of the Quraysh. This combination of personal and emotional loss is referred to as a year of sorrow, a year that left a deep imprint on the heart of the Prophet, PBUH. Despite this, the legacy of Hazrat Khadija's love, faith, and sacrifice lived on, continuing to guide the Prophet's actions and decisions. The Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, never forgot Hazrat Khadija's devotion to the mission of Islam. After her passing, he would continue to maintain strong relationships with her relatives, especially her close family members. Her cousin, Waraka ibn Nawfal, who had supported her early belief in Muhammad's, PBUH, prophethood, also played an important role in the early validation of the Prophet's revelations. Waraka's knowledge of the scriptures of the past had reassured Khadija about the authenticity of the message, and his counsel had offered the Prophet comfort during the initial period of receiving revelation. Even after Khadija's death, Waraka's support for the Prophet, PBUH, demonstrated the continuity of the trust Khadija had placed in those who had supported the Prophet from the beginning. The Prophet's love and reverence for Hazrat Khadija were not only expressed in words, but also in actions. He would sometimes share stories of her kindness and her role in the early Islamic community with his companions. One of the most profound expressions of his admiration came in his treatment of her friends after her death. He would often send gifts to her friends and maintain close ties with those who had been kind to her, reflecting his appreciation for her and her relationships. This treatment of her friends served as an extension of the love and respect he had for her. Furthermore, the Prophet, PBUH, emphasized Khadija's significance in various hadiths, such as when he stated, "She believed in me when people disbelieved in me. She accepted Islam when people rejected me. And she helped and comforted me when there was no one to support me." These words demonstrate not only his admiration for her, but also underscore the critical role she played in the early establishment of Islam. Her unwavering support in the face of adversity, both for her husband and for the divine message, became a powerful model for Muslims in the generations that followed. Hazrat Khadija's legacy also extends beyond her time as a mother and wife. She remains an example of generosity, kindness, and faith. Her role as a businesswoman, a philanthropist, and a leader during a time when women were not given equal societal stature further elevates her as an exceptional figure. In a society where women often had limited influence, Hazrat Khadija used her wealth, influence, and wisdom to propel the early Muslim community forward. Her contributions helped create the foundation upon which Islam was built, and her actions laid a precedent for future generations to follow. In contemporary times, Hazrat Khadija continues to serve as a role model for both men and women in the Muslim world. She is a symbol of unwavering faith, resilience in the face of adversity, and the power of quiet but steadfast support for a noble cause. Her legacy is celebrated by Muslims worldwide, not only for her significant role in the early days of Islam, but also for the timeless lessons her life offers about the strength of character, the importance of loyalty, and the value of standing by one's beliefs in the face of trials. Her story encourages people to think about the role that individuals can play in supporting others, especially those who are working toward a greater good. Hazrat Khadija's life is a shining example of how one person's dedication, faith, and actions can make a lasting impact on history. Through her example, we are reminded that love for the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, love for Islam, and commitment to justice and truth are qualities that transcend time, and they remain just as relevant and inspiring today as they were in the early days of Islam. Her life continues to inspire countless individuals to follow her example of devotion, love, and sacrifice. The memory of Hazrat Khadija, R.A., is honored not only in the Muslim community, but also in the hearts of those who recognize her unparalleled role in the early history of Islam, the devotion she showed in supporting her husband, the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, her unwavering faith in Islam, and her selfless acts of charity and kindness ensure her status as one of the most important and revered figures in Islamic history. Hazrat Khadija's enduring legacy remains an inspiration, embodying the essence of love, sacrifice, and loyalty for the sake of Allah and His Messenger. As we continue to reflect on the life and legacy of Hazrat Khadija, R.A., it becomes evident that her significance in the history of Islam goes far beyond her role as the first wife of Prophet Muhammad, PBUH. Her story represents a beacon of integrity, selflessness, and spiritual strength. The depth of her commitment to both her husband and the message of Islam reflects the very essence of faith and devotion, making her a model for Muslims throughout the ages. One of the most profound aspects of Hazrat Khadija's, R.A., legacy is her ability to stand by the Prophet, PBUH, when the world seemed to turn against him. At a time when the Prophet faced immense opposition from the Quraysh and the early Muslim community endured persecution, she was a rock of support, both emotionally and materially. When the Quraysh intensified their opposition, Khadija, R.A., never hesitated to use her wealth and resources to help sustain the Prophet, PBUH, and the Muslim community. Her generosity and compassion were not limited to those in her immediate circle. She actively worked to create a safe environment where the Prophet, PBUH, could continue his mission without fear or distraction. Her contributions to Islam are often seen as an extension of her broader commitment to justice, equality, and the empowerment of others. While her wealth was used for noble causes, she also used her position to challenge the prevailing norms of Meccan society, which was often defined by social divisions and inequality. She was a woman of great influence and leadership, and by embracing Islam so publicly and fearlessly, she demonstrated how a person, regardless of gender, could have a profound impact on the direction of history. Additionally, Hazrat Khadija, R.A., was known for her wisdom and insight. She had the foresight to recognize the truth of the Prophet's message when many others were skeptical. Her insight was not simply that of a devoted wife, but also that of someone who deeply understood the importance of justice, truth, and faith. When Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, was initially shaken by the experience of the first revelation, it was Khadija who immediately comforted him, reminding him of his noble qualities and assuring him that he had been chosen for a divine mission. She believed in him without question, providing him the emotional strength to face the daunting task ahead. Her support in those early years was not only physical or financial, but deeply spiritual, and it gave the Prophet, PBUH, the confidence to proceed with the mission of spreading the message of Islam. In the Quran, Allah, SWT, praises the qualities of individuals who stand by the truth and support the messenger. Hazrat Khadija, R.A., epitomized this in her unwavering dedication to the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, and the divine message he carried. The Prophet, PBUH, himself is quoted in hadiths as saying that Khadija was the best of women, highlighting her noble character, immense contribution to the early days of Islam, and her deep faith in the mission of Islam. Her name is often invoked in discussions about the virtues of strong, committed individuals who work for the cause of Islam, and she is celebrated as one of the greatest women to have ever lived. Khadija's enduring influence can also be seen in how she shaped the role of women in Islam. At a time when women's roles were often marginalized or relegated to the private sphere, Hazrat Khadija, R.A., exemplified the power of women in public life. She showed that women could be both leaders and pillars of support in their communities. Her life defied the gender norms of her time and continues to inspire Muslim women today to contribute to society, stand firm in their faith, and support causes they believe in, just as Khadija did for Prophet Muhammad, PBUH. Her legacy is not only important for Muslims, but also for people across different cultures and faiths, as it highlights the universal values of loyalty, integrity, and selflessness. Hazrat Khadija's example speaks to the core principles of compassion and justice, which transcend religious and cultural boundaries. Her actions remind us that faith is not limited to rituals, but is embodied through our relationships with others, our support for truth, and our willingness to sacrifice for the greater good. Throughout history, many Muslims, especially women, have looked to Hazrat Khadija, R.A., as a source of inspiration and empowerment. Her story proves that strength in faith and character is not defined by one's gender, social status, or wealth. She demonstrated that a person's ability to make a meaningful contribution to a larger cause is rooted in their inner qualities, such as sincerity, humility, and dedication, whether in the form of material support, emotional,